it's easy to look at someone else from as a spectator at the sport, whatever they're doing, and say, do this, do that. And just a reminder that they're in the arena. They are doing it. They're making an effort. And so that for me is just a perspective I like to keep. And for myself, when sometimes I find myself beating myself up.
Welcome to the Built to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on the journey from millions to billions. We believe the key to scaling and compounding your wealth and life starts every single day with the mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more all of it away to help MVPs, the most vulnerable people. My name is Brett Swartz, and every episode we're joined by some of the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires, and billionaires. They share their story, secrets, insights with us so we can all level up and compound our impact. I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of the great state of Georgia, and he is on a mission to help you multiply your success by franchising your business. He is a proven three-step process, and he's got all kinds of really amazing successes. And in fact, he's really just wanting to help the entrepreneur shape their future potential franchising opportunities and how to do these things in a really big way. Please welcome to the show with me, Mr. Tom DuFore. Tom, how are you doing?
Great, Brett. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, excellent. For listeners, get to tell me for the first time, would you give us just a little more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, sure. Well, my current focus is really working with what I describe as growth-minded entrepreneurs or small to mid-sized businesses, and really businesses of any size. But most of our clients tend to be that growth-minded, successful entrepreneur that say, I've built something great, and now I'm ready to expand beyond that. And the story that led me to this, really, I've been doing this my entire career. Over 21 years, I've been helping companies through this process. I just happened to luck out. I knew I wanted to be a management consultant in college. My first job, as such, happened to be at a franchise consulting company. Who knew? I had no idea such a thing exists. And it married a couple of my passions, helping and serving and supporting other people get to where they want to go, and entrepreneurship. I love the American dream. And so the idea of helping a successful entrepreneur grow their business by helping other, what I called budding entrepreneurs, get confidence to go into business for themselves through a franchise that maybe they otherwise would not have started a business if it weren't for a franchise. So that's what's led me here. And I've had the good fortune of working with hundreds of brands that I've helped launch and grow and expand through this process.
Amazing, Tom. And by the way, if you want to learn more about Tom and how he can help you, go to bigskyfranchiseteam.com. That's bigskyfranchiseteam.com. So let's dive right into the topic at hand, which is really how to franchise your business, and maybe some of the secrets to that, some success stories. And so, Tom, what is the number one secret to franchising your business?
Well, I would say the first number one secret in franchising success, big picture, is after you're already in the process. We talk about it. People are familiar with the three most important ingredients in real estate, which is location, location, location. And in franchising, the three most important ingredients are selection, 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 and selecting the right franchisees to join your franchise system. And so that's a common challenge for especially new and emerging franchise brands, and even growth-oriented brands. Once some franchise brands start taking off, they just start selling to everyone instead of tightening the filter in terms of after time, like any good business, you realize which types of people or backgrounds or skill sets tend to do well in your franchise system. And so over time, the most successful franchise systems really, really focus in on selecting. And even for long-term success, brands that grow slower in the beginning, they sell 1, 2, 3, 4 franchises a year, but they're bringing the right kinds of candidates and franchisees into their system. So that's a post thought or process that I think is important there.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's really like it's the who, right? The selection of the who is going to be you're going to sell to make sure that's a great fit for the ongoing brand and ongoing reputation of the entire franchise itself. Is that a fair summary?
Yes, that's exactly right. The who, because in franchising, we call in most businesses, you're familiar with the idea of a reference check, and in franchising, we call that franchise validation. Well, that franchise validation in is, or I should say, the reference check or that validation in franchising occurs through your existing franchisees. Well, selecting the right franchisees hopefully means that they are going to be well capitalized, have the right skill set to implement and execute your system well and be successful. And that also means, as the franchisor, your job is to support those franchisees, to provide the coaching, support, training, et cetera, to help them through that process. So that is what we like to look at, or some of what we like to look at in going through that.
Okay, got it. What's secret number two to how to franchise your business or to be successful in franchise?
Yeah. So what we like to look at is so that's after you're already franchising. Now, the first one we talked about. The second one we're going to talk about is before you franchise, and really ensuring that the model you have is ready for franchising. And so we like to in the franchise world we call this the franchisability. It's not an actual real word, but we call it franchisability. And so is your business ready for that? And we have broken it down into three big check marks that create or determine if a business is ready for franchising. So checkbox number one is, do you have a profitable prototype? I know it seems basic and simple, but it's one that sometimes people want to skip. Now, there are exceptions, of course, to every rule, but generally speaking, we want to have a profitable prototype. Sometimes entrepreneurs and successful leaders will say, well, Tom, look, my tax return says I've lost money or I'm barely making any profit. And my response back is, well, that very well may be true. However, we're not looking at tax returns. Maybe a simpler way to look at, is your business profitable for an owner-operator or an owner mindset would be, are you able to pay your bills, right? Are you able to pay for yourself and your lifestyle out of the business? Okay, that's box number one. Box number two then is, do you have a business model that has potential customers outside of your market? And we like to see, do you have potential customers that at minimum on a regional basis, and on a regional, because if you're going to franchise, we want to make sure there's enough room to grow that you can have enough franchisees that it's worth it. Preferably, we want to see a national basis. Do you have customers, if you're based in Texas or Florida or Illinois or wherever you happen to be located, are there customers in Washington and New York and some of these other states? And for most businesses, the answer is yes. And then the ideal position would be international. Who knows where you're going to end up long-term over time? So that's checkbox number two. Checkbox number three then is, can you train someone how to run your business? Essentially, the idea for someone that's not franchising is to think about hiring a general manager. That's one way to think about it. Do you have an ability or to train a general manager so that someone else can run the daily operation or the day-to-day activities? What I found over the years is sometimes the owners are fully capable of training, but are they willing to train the founders and the other people that are part of the team? So we look for that willingness. If you're not willing to, then do you have staff and team members that would be able to supplement and provide that support to the franchisees? So going through an analysis to be prepared, that to me is a second, secret or step here to really be set up for franchising.
Yeah, so profitable prototype, potential customers outside of your current market, regional, national, international. And then can you train and or are you willing to train both, and or do you have a team that could do that? That makes sense for secret number two before you franchise. All right, what's the next secret to either before your franchising or what's the next step in the process?
Yeah, next step of the process then is, as you go through the franchising process, really making sure you're set up well. And franchising, a lot of our clients and the folks that I've worked with over the years have been predominantly entrepreneurs. They've been the founder. And many founders, and look, I don't consider myself exclusive from this category, but many founders, myself included, think that all we have to do is just kind of bumble into something and figure it out, and we'll make it eventually get it right, and it'll be off to the races. Well, in franchising, because of the way the rules and regulations are in place, you have a lot of exposure and liability as a franchisor. So just slapping together some documents and selling a franchise real quick is probably not best practice for long term. And the reason being is most franchise agreements, when they're signed, tend to be a 20-year agreement. There's an initial term of 10 years, followed by 2 5-year terms thereafter. And so the terms that you're signing up to are what you're stuck with. And so as a franchisor, your job is to protect your brand and your systems at all costs. So we want to make sure that the legal structure, the business model structure, manuals, all of these documents that work collectively together are set up in a well and with your best foot forward. Hence why an organization like ours exists. I know it's a little self-serving, but I've seen so many unfortunate tragic stories that could have easily been avoided by hiring professionals or quality groups to help support them going through this. So that's a third step there that is just, in my opinion, if a successful leader is not willing to invest in the money in that, it's hard to expect a franchisee to then invest on average about $43,000 franchise fee plus maybe $200,000-$400,000 of their own money into their franchise. So,
got it. So it's protection and long-term, sustainability of the brand and the systems, and making sure that it makes sense. Like if you're going to pour into somebody, make these contracts and these legal agreements, have some teeth in them. That makes sense. Okay, good. What's secret number 3 or the next one?
Yeah. So the next one that I like to take a look at and walk through is, as someone launches, to have a plan for a sales plan or a sales process once they start executing and going live with their franchise efforts. I've seen this happen many, many, many times, and it seems very simple and rudimentary, but it's very common where there's just not a sales process put together. One of the reasons we actually launched, we include in our programs with our clients now, is a comprehensive franchise sales training program. And it's actually a workshop such that by the time someone's done, they're actually put together on paper. They put down on paper, here are the things I'm going to take my prospects through. And as with many of these processes and systems, the 80% big chunk, the most important chunk, is just having a process put down on paper. It can always be refined and improved, but I found that the clients that tend to struggle, or brands that tend to struggle, oftentimes do not have a clear sales process outlined.
That makes sense. Makes sense. Have a clear sales process outlined and ready to go, especially as you're franchising and pushing it out. Makes sense. Okay, great. Next secret or next step in the process. How do you start making the deals happen? How do they work with big size franchising team to make this stuff actually come to fruition now?
Yeah. So in terms of how we support and help our clients go through this, we offer to anyone that's interested in either franchising their business or learning more about it, or maybe growing an existing franchise system, we offer a free consultation, no obligation, no cost, just to get started and just talk through these issues. And our method of doing business is, whether we don't charge any fees until we both agree, let's do business together. So we want to make sure we can identify a real need and a real problem and provide a solution that makes sense. So that's where we like to start. And then if it makes sense, we'll continue the dialogue and move forward from there.
Excellent. And bigskyfranchiseteam.com, bigsizefranchiseteam.com, if you want to check with Tom right now, franchise your business, multiply your success. They make franchising your business simple using their 3-step proven process. And if you're already franchising, they can help you too. You get a 15-minute intro call. Check them out. They've won some cool awards: Best Franchise Consultancy in the USA by Global 100 in 2024, and the 2024 Entrepreneur Magazine Top Franchise Supplier. So pretty awesome stuff. Cool website. I'm liking it. Okay, what questions haven't I asked you about this whole process, or maybe bringing some real life uh, businesses that have franchised, some success stories that you can highlight. Like this world of AI and the movement of the world is just this record pace. And so how is franchising changing with any of that, or is there more new opportunities emerging because of that? But just kind of give us the macro opportunity here.
Yeah, so in terms of a macro opportunity for franchising, I would say one very common misnomer with franchising, and this is something I've heard a lot over the years, is if I franchise, that means I have to sell 1,000 of these things and go global and be all over the world. And while that is possible, and franchising is a vehicle to make that happen, and for the folks tuning into your podcast, your audience, they're looking to grow and expand rapidly. Franchising is a great vehicle. Is it the right vehicle for you? It depends. Maybe not, but it's worth considering. The misnomer is that you don't have to sell 1,000 franchises or 10,000. You can grow a system and grow methodically. And a case in point is a great example that I like to talk about. A client that I worked with many years ago out of the Northeast. He started franchising about 8 years ago. And over the last 8 years, he's sold about 14 franchises. Well, to me, what's exciting is he had two sandwich shops that he was operating. And if he had not franchised, he would still have 2 sandwich shops. But today he has 14 franchises plus his 2 sandwich shops. And now he's really ready to start expanding on a greater scale regionally. He's growing very local. He's sold to customers, friends, family, extended, friends of friends, friends of franchisees. It's slowly growing and expanding. And so for me, those are some of my most favorite success stories in franchising. The brands you've never heard about that have 20 of something, 30 of something, 50 of something, and have changed the lives of not only the franchisor, but the lives of those franchisees that have been able to tap into and participate in the system that's been created.
That's awesome. How about AI and different opportunities
Yep.
there? Do you feel like there's like opportunities? Is that changing anything in your world at all?
It's a great question on AI. Where we are seeing it impact franchising today, probably not too different than from other industries, is we're seeing it incorporated in marketing and sales efforts for follow-up responses, some early customer service, chatbots on websites, maybe even call answering where there are AI voice agents that are answering calls and being able to take people through some voice prompts, things of that nature. Certainly in the food business in particular, as labor costs continue to increase, especially in fast food restaurants, we're seeing the use of automation really come into play, especially in the kitchen for automating processes. And from a franchise standpoint, it certainly is going to create consistency there. So we're seeing that come along. It's a great question. I don't have a great answer in terms of how I see it impacting specifically, but
just kind of curious on that. Yeah, because the world's going to change.
Yeah.
And so specifically, you will help somebody either if they have an existing business, franchise that or build that out, or are you helping others buy into franchises too, Tom? We do both.
So we do. It's a yes. We do a little bit, but we do not do. We're not what in our franchise world is called a franchise broker, which acts kind of like a real estate. Now I have great counterparts and folks that I work with that do that are some of the top franchise brokers in the country. But as of this point, we do not do that. We actually work on seller side representation. So we actually represent the franchisor and helping support their franchise sales efforts.
Okay, that's great. By the way, speaking of that, you mentioned the gentleman who had sold a couple of the franchises and such. So, capital gains tax is a massive challenge for folks when they exit these big businesses. I'm the founder of Capital Gains Tax Solutions. We found that the biggest frustration is 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50% of the proceeds are going to be crushed in tax. And I say, you spent 5, 10, 15 years building this thing. Why not spend 5 hours, build a capital gains tax exit plan, defer your tax, build it, and actually invest into more businesses or other franchises or real estate or whatever. It's really cool what we have. I'm curious, what has been your go-to, or what have you seen that's worked, or what hasn't worked well when it comes specifically to business exits, and I'm talking multi-million dollar exits with and massive capital gains tax. Anything kind of come to mind?
Yeah, well, in franchising, these types of exits are becoming the norm and regular in franchising. Private equity and venture capital money has been pouring into franchising. It started as a bit of a trickle 20-ish years ago, and 10 years ago it accelerated. In the last 5 years, it's just I have clients who they've been franchising for 6 months, a year. They start getting the emails and the letters from private equity groups and VC groups just to get on the radar, right? Just little feelers, just little touch points. And we're seeing the market used to be where the private equity group or VC would acquire the business outright. In today's world, what they're looking to do is purchase maybe 60% ish or a controlling interest of the business, keep the founder in, and they'll buy it around 50, 20, 50, maybe 100 units, scale to 200 or 300, and then exit to the buy and hold PE group for that big second exit there. So that's what we're seeing happening in franchising. In terms of tax reduction and liability, unfortunately, I don't see anything consistent happening in franchising. So I think it's an opportunity for you, certainly, and a connection point for us to be connecting you with our clients for sure.
Yeah, I'll just tell you a little bit about it, and anyone who's kind of curious, right? So whether you have a business, Bitcoin, real estate, the biggest challenge we found for people who want to exit is the massive capital gains tax, right? And again, it's somewhere between 20, 30, 40, 50% of your proceeds. And so we build capital gains tax exit plans where on the exit, you can assign your interest either to the LLC, the S Corp, C Corp, depending on the fact pattern, to a trust in exchange for a promissory note. So it's real simple. It's like a seller carryback, right? And so a lot of sellers will say, "Hey, will you finance the buyer?" And oftentimes they'll say yes because they want to be able to make the deal A, and B, to first that capital gains tax. In this scenario, we say, "Hey, it's very similar to that, except most people don't want their money stuck with the old business because they're not diversified. They may have to come back and take it back." And so in this scenario, we can exit there through cash, but exchange a promissory note right in between the sale. And so it's a simultaneous sale between the buyer and the seller, except the seller ends up with a promissory note from a trust, and the buyer gets everything he bargained for. And now the funds can earn at Charles Schwab, or give you an example, can go back into other franchises, can go back into real estate. It can be totally work for the entrepreneur, or you can just diversify and go into other investments and just look and get truly passive income. Because at a certain point, people have worked and are looking to retire, like the baby boomer massive wealth transfer, 100 trillion in the next 15 years. A lot of them own these businesses, need a good exit plan, but they don't have a great plan in place. So if people want to learn more about this, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We also have a book that we wrote on it with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. Pretty awesome. Amazon best-selling list, and Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. All right, that's enough of that. So very cool. That being said, are you ready for the lightning round, my friend?
Yes.
All right, knowing what you know now, Tom, if you go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget make sure you tell yourself to do?
Be patient. Be patient. Have patience.
That's good. That's good. I like it. Patience, maybe patience and perseverance, right? Both of them, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
The 2 Ps. Next question. What's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
The number one book from the past year, I would say, is The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, if I'm saying that correctly.
Okay.
As a parent with kids in that age group, it has been very, very helpful for cell phone use and social media use for children.
Awesome. Thank you. Next question. Number one way using ChatGPT?
Number one way right now I'm using ChatGPT is to help support copywriting, where I consider myself a decent writer, but it helps kind of clean it up and make it better right now.
Excellent. How do you best stay super healthy and ultra disciplined?
Right now is eliminating sugar, completely processed sugars. So that for me is something I can control with a busy life and kids and such. That's what I'm doing right now.
Love it. What are you most curious about right
I am most curious about part of what you're saying here is AI. How to make sure that my business is still found in a world where people used to Google search, and those I mean, even the last few months, I see people finding us plummeting. And so saying, how are service oriented businesses going to continue to be found when ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, all these other AI groups out there are, people are skipping the searches and looking directly for those answers there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really curious about that too. That is fascinating. We're finding the same thing just on our personal use day to day. Excellent. What's your maybe the number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Um, the number one leadership quote. I don't have necessarily one. I've got a whole drawer of things that I keep, but I guess the most important thing that I like to think of is kind of the man in the arena quote. The idea of the man in the arena is it's easy to look at someone else from as a spectator at the sport, whatever they're doing, and say, do this, do that. And just a reminder that they're in the arena. They are doing it. They're making an effort. And so that for me is just a perspective I like to keep. And for myself, sometimes I find myself beating myself up. Oh man, but it's like, well, I'm in the arena,
Yeah.
So sometimes that's how it goes.
Yeah. So I love it. You're right. I just rewatched, I think it's been a little while, but it's a Tom Brady. It's called Man in the Arena, and it's it's like documentary on I think Tom's life and his sports and different things, and I think it's just a great perspective to see success at the highest level and a great mindset, and yeah, so I couldn't agree with you more on that one. That's really cool. Let's see. Man, is there any question I haven't asked you that you were like, hey, it could be helpful for the audience before we kind of wrap it up? Anything that kind of comes to mind?
I would just say this is something I like to leave is sometimes the idea of franchising a business. People often are curious, especially owners, leaders are curious about it. And I always recommend if you have any interest in expanding your business, you have to consider franchising. Does it mean you should? No. But I've come to that conclusion that it's just exploring all of your options to figure out what's the best structure and strategy for your own growth.
Awesome. And very last question, Tom, and we'll wrap it up. It's our kind of our theme of our podcast, which is an idea of stewardship over ownership. So what's the best way that you practice a mindset of stewardship over ownership and maybe a cause that you believe in to give back?
Yeah, so we have had I guess a give back program where we've given a percentage of our revenue to a variety of charities over the years. A couple that are just near and dear to my heart that are just personal. Couple higher ed institutions, local church that does some really great work locally, and then also to a program that I really like that is committed to planting trees. And so it's you give to them, and for every dollar you donate, they plant a tree in local areas and helping increase biodiversity. And I'm in the Appalachians, in the foothills here, so I like to give to plant and improve the Appalachians area.
Fantastic. Tom, DuFore, it's been more than a pleasure to have you on the show. I want to encourage you to keep helping businesses be able to scale through franchising and helping to keep the economy, hopefully roaring with more and more jobs, more and more businesses, especially small to medium-sized businesses as they expand. Thank you for doing what you're doing. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, one last time, what's the best place to find you?
Best place to find me is at bigskyfranchiseteam.com. You'll find all our resources there.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. And I also want to thank all of our listeners for listening to another episode of the Build to Billions podcast. We're also streamed on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and YouTube channel. We're on this journey with you to scale from millions to billions, so we give it all away, more of all of it away, to help MVPs. And we want to encourage you to take action today. If you know someone who might be considering franchising, or even consider it, and you want to talk to Tom, why don't you connect them with him? And if you know someone who might be exiting a large asset, Bitcoin business, real estate, and have maybe some huge capital gains taxes, why don't you connect them with us here at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com so they can build a capital gains tax exit plan and keep more of those profits compounding for them. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to everyone again real soon. Bye now.